This is Space Cats Peace Turtles, the unofficial podcast for Fantasy Flight's Twilight Imperium. Episode 64 player pros and cons. Music by Ben Prunty, featuring Matt Martins and Hunter Donaldson.
I didn't get enough regular talk time before we...
You didn't?
Before we turned it on. Yeah.
What do you want to talk about? How miserable Pat is?
How miserable your cat is about you getting a dog.
It's the only topic of conversation in my life anymore.
Right.
That's all I talk about with anybody is how much my cat hates me now.
Yeah. You know, there isn't a dog faction in Twilight Imperium.
People have been saying that. Now, I think the old SAR looked like dogs, but now they don't. Now they're bears or whatever.
Right. I think they're moles. Actually, like to get away from like our I don't want to self-reference right now. I do think they are moles for the record.
It feels better for them to be moles.
I think they're like migrant mole people. But
mole people.
There really should be space doggies, and I think once we start the Space Cats Peace Turtle fan expansion, that might be my primary target is to get space doggies into the game. I think let's just kind of, what would a space doggy faction be? I think
it'd be a good boy. It'd be such a good boy.
They'd be good boys. Good boy. But I what do you think about a faction where like, so Hakan has this kind of give and take with like how friendly they are with other people? What if the space doggies, the idea is that they are best friends with just one other player, and they're very
really committed.
Yeah,
they're very loyal.
Like you have like maybe extra promissory notes. Like you can promise all kinds of things. You know, like I promise to be your friend. Like you can you have a promissory note that says that, and then like you what could like feeding be? Like I don't know. You give them a trade good, and then like you're happy. That wouldn't really be an ability, but
just to exist in space with other players because you just gotta get pet.
I actually like that idea. A faction that can occupy space with the other players, and it's fine. Like the space dogs choose whether to have a space battle or not.
Right.
Whatever it's their activation.
Wow, now you're talking real stuff, and that terrifies me.
That's not even a good ability though. That's a weird ability.
It's a weird ability.
Because then the space dogs could pretend to be your friend and occupy space with you, and then like activate your home system and be like, this time we're doing it. Like
gross.
I think that would be fun.
Well, we're here and we're space catting. We're space dogs. Peace goats now. Yeah, nope. I want a space goat race.
Oh, okay.
I've already done a space goat race.
That's true. You have a space goat race. Is this what are we going to just start talking about our fan expansion that we have actually been working on this whole time?
Shh, stop it. Don't. Because my whole goal is to send our fan expansion to Dane and just be like, just do this, please. Come on. And then that's it. And we get to publish... Not we. The Fantasy Flight publishes our expansion.
All right, so real talk.
That's how much clout and ego I have right now.
That's so silly.
It'll be our expansion.
That's not going to happen.
I'm absolutely kidding.
But now it's time to talk about my great idea for a faction that I have been working on. What do you think? No, he's shaking his head. No, he does not want me to speak on this. I don't even know where the idea is right now with that. But I have a faction I've been working on called the Family.
I don't want you to. I don't want you to.
You don't want me to do it?
Things. The family. The family's fine. There's your tease. The family.
Okay.
But
it's like
no.
It's like a
because here's the thing. I don't want people to pick it apart yet.
Right.
It should just exist. It should just not be and then be.
Right. Okay. So. Okay. That's fine. I'm
also just afraid. And also because you're not the one who's going to have to put up with all the comments, and it's your faction, but I'm going to be the one on the Discord having to defend it constantly. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to defend your ideas.
You know what I was thinking about? This is talking about having like a big head or whatever. This is what I was thinking of the other day because I don't I don't spend any time on the Discord. I was like, I'll do an AMA on the Discord.
Oh,
like
Ew.
I'll be like, listen, I will be on for an hour and let's announce it. Tell everybody.
Oh, everyone, we've scheduled time with Hunter of Space Cats Peace Turtles on his own Discord. What a luxury.
Where a Discord that he should, as a nice person, occupy sometimes just cause.
I posted this is we referenced this last week, but I posted today in Hunter's comedy channel about the comedy podcast that Hunter wrote for. I posted that in your channel today, so you're welcome.
It's not really my channel. It's just a channel
It's a channel Hunbun's comedy channel.
It's not mine though. It's a channel to post about me. It's not. It's
Man, if this is someone's first episode, it's just been
this
minutes
not a good
of vanity.
Well, you know, I think the reason I feel that way is because the topic that we have today to talk about, which is 4-player games, is far from my least, it is my least favorite way to play favorite. Twilight Imperium, and I'm just not looking forward to. I'm trying to make myself sound fun and nice because I'm about to just basically just be a grumpy boy for the rest of the episode because I don't like 4-player games. I really don't like them. I think it's wrong to play it that way.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about 4-player games, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea. We call this 4-player pros and cons because this isn't going to be like a breakdown of in-depth strategy stuff for 4-player games. I think we could do like a series of episodes about like how individual factions are different at 4 players and stuff like that. 4-player is where things get way crazier than the drop from 6 to 5. Not that extreme, but to go from 5 to 4 players is a whole new world, and we want this to be more of how we feel about it and our tester. And like if you've never played a 4-player, I would think of this episode as kind of like, well, this is what we sort of typically expect when going into a 4-player game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've only played 4 players, maybe you identify with this stuff, and hopefully it will help you. Like, there's a lot of people who like, I've only played 4-player games because I can't find 6 players to sit down and play for long enough.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is sad, but hopefully
just ask one of them not to come. Actually,
just a 3-player game.
Yeah, 3 is way better.
This is sort of you'll hear what we think is different so that maybe you can understand what is different about a 6-player game. So it's a little bit of like a step back from like in-depth strategy and more about like the stylistic differences.
Yeah, and I like that disclaimer because we haven't played a lot of 4-player games.
No,
so
I played my first 4-player. No, our set we played one while I was still in Portland, and this is my second 4-player game of TI4. I think that's right.
No, you've played more than that because you've played more than me 4-player because you played last Christmas. You played one. Do you remember?
That's right. You're right. Yeah, one of our before the stream of the holiday spectacular.
Yeah, I remember because we had
still not very many.
We had 9 people, and it was like, oh, somebody's gonna have to play a 4-player game, and I was like, well, I'm absolutely not doing that.
Right.
So.
I'm game for it. So what we're doing today is, because I'm game for 4-player games, I see the light. I don't love 4-player games. They are my least favorite player count. My player count is, for a while, I actually almost preferred 5-player games. Or I see 6 and 5-player games at like virtually the same level. I almost do not distinguish between the two
why?
of them.
What are you talking about?
I just see them as so similar, and sometimes I like that 3 strategy cards don't get picked. Like there was a time, this is more TI3, but there was a time in TI3 where I was like, I love 5-player because it's like way harder choices. There's not as many strategy cards, and it's still as cutthroat as 6-player if you do the right map.
Because early game, diplomacy, imperial, and then one actual good trade most of the time, depending
or construction in TI4. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. What did I say?
Diplomacy, imperial, and construction probably won't get picked. But
right.
Like, that's a bit of a loss. So
and also like construction has to get picked sometimes. Like construction is a weird card because like you can't just never pick it.
Right.
Like someone has to pick it at some point. Otherwise, that's not going to work.
Right. So, but the drop to 4 players makes things so much crazier. So I'm going to be on the side of pro. And every point, we're going to do kind of a point counterpoint with factors of a 4-player game. And I'm going to be the pro, and Hunter's going to be the mean old con.
Mm-hmm.
So and a lot of these opinions are actually based on the game that I just played last weekend, which I played with EJ, who we all know now on the show decently well enough. He's experienced with the game. We played with two Chris's, and both Chris's are newer. One Chris is very new.
What are these Chris's? Can you tell
Chris
me?
Shock and Chris Rogers.
Oh, Chris Rogers! Shout out. I like Chris Rogers. He's cool.
Chris was specifically, he played a Sorrow, and he was trying to do so much stuff in the last round, and he was like, the only reason I'm doing anything this round is because I want a play of the week. He was like, I chose a Sorrow so that I could try to pull off a play of the week, and he didn't get one. Okay. So I'm gonna be talking kind of a lot from the perspective of that game, which was, I think, an incredibly typical 4-player game.
Yeah.
In terms of what most people who are like, I only play 4-player games, and I feel like I see all the time on Reddit and on the Discord people saying like, I've played 6 games and 5 of them were 4-player games.
Yeah.
So mostly newer players playing a lot of 4-player games, and just a lot of times it's all that you have. So I want to let you know that you're playing a fun game, but it is, my pros are all in the vein of still different, but kind of an interesting twist. But I think, Hunter, you should lead off with the cons, and I'll bounce back with like why maybe it is.
Okay. So my least favorite thing about it is how slow and boring the early game is. I think it's really, 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 really boring. And also like every 4-player game has the Cold War aspect that kind of goes on for, I would say, at least a round or two too long. Because everybody has a lot of stuff in a 4-player game. The slices are more filled out in general, and you have access. The victory points are clearly balanced for 6 or 5 players, and a 4-player consideration isn't really there. Think about like control objectives. Really, the purpose of a control objective from a design standpoint is to get the players to fight. Now, in a 4-player game, the only reason that you would fight over control objectives is point denial, which is great.
Or
if everybody's
specifically like tech specialty, because that's
the
only one in a 4-player game that is still maybe not a given.
Right.
But planet traits and 6 planets outside of your home system, that stuff is you have that. Everyone has that in their slice pretty much. Getting into the 2-pointers, I mean, honestly, that's the thing is, in a 4-player game, the 2-pointers are where things become somewhat tricky.
Right.
But all of the 1-pointers are like wicked easy. Everyone's going to claim almost every 1-point objective.
Right. So that's a very, very boring and slow early game, and even mid game, really. Like basically until you get to what you basically said right now, and you're the guy who likes this, is that it doesn't really get interesting until 2-pointers. So what? Like you're going to have like a one interesting round, and then the game's over?
Yep. that is essentially for a 10-point 4-player game. That is basically kind of the argument, is that it is like this kind of ridiculous long build up to then one round that's pretty crazy. Because it is Cold War, and it's waiting for the spark to fire off in that final round. But what I agree with is sometimes the spark doesn't go off, and sometimes the Cold War ends with just like, oh well, They won the game.
Right, they just got there first.
They had the stuff, and it's. But when a 4-player game explodes and all the players do have, if the final objective that comes out that like people are definitely going to have to score to push themselves ahead is control a planet in someone else's home system, then things get cool and spicy, because it's like, we have all been amassing huge fleets all game and not attacking, and now we have to gut each other. We have to completely wipe each other off the map, and that is like a really, really, really fun final round.
Is it though? Because I don't really like really giant like space battles, because that's a lot of dice rolling, and the tension. No.
What do you like about
the tension? The tension generally goes, if it's a really giant fleet versus another giant fleet, it is impossible to maintain the tension for all of that fight. There's going to be so much dice rolling, and in general, sometimes those fights are cool because they'll come down to like, so it'll get whittled down to where there's like so few left, and it's like, well, these are some crucial rounds. But a lot of times because of the amount of variables there, someone will get like one bad roll, basically.
Yeah.
And then they've lost it, but they still have to play through a couple combat rounds.
Right. This is especially terrible in like ground combat where it's like,
oh my God, yeah.
Just roll 2, roll 1, roll 2, roll 1.
Roll 1.
Roll 2, roll, finally.
The tension goes out the window on that. And honestly, I think the combats I most get interested in, which is weird because I'm not this type of player, but like when someone is taking a risky gambit, like those are the really tense ones. And if everybody's just built these massive fleets, there's not as much room for gambits in general, you know?
Well, maybe 4-player is where I shine the most in my play style because everyone's kind of leaving me alone, and I'm still constantly focusing on risky gambits. I mean, I played Mentak in this game, and all I did was get cruisers in positions where they would then eventually get to lash out and do crazy stuff in the final round. Right. I didn't have any big battles, but I had lots of weird maneuvers in our final round that was very engaging for me, but it does rely on the fact that people are kind of ignoring each other for the first 4 rounds of the game. I mean, you really are not getting in each other's way.
Did you win as Mentak?
I did.
That's crazy. I feel like Mentak actually might be, in my head, now this is just theory, like, and actually a lot of things we're saying are theory because we haven't played a bunch of 4-player games. And we already made that disclaimer anyways. I don't know why I'm going back to it.
Sure.
But I actually feel like Mentak would be the worst 4-player faction because how are you going to exercise that pillage?
Yeah, it was like I didn't get much pillaging, and honestly, I won because.
And how good is mirror computing going to be? I guess you could take trade a lot, so mirror computing could
always
be
gonna
really
get played.
Strong.
I got some deals. I got my Promise of Protection out there at one point. I was up against a Muat, a Winu, and an Isarl on a 4-player map. Now we were playing with some weird extra rules that I'm not going to get into, and that made Winu and Muat really strong choices. And honestly, Winu, to get into, we're not going to talk about a lot of strategy, but Winu in a 4-player game is a completely different beast. Winu is very, very
Winu's
good
great, yeah.
in 4 and 3-player games.
I think people can figure that out because it's like
there's distance between you and your neighbors, which you don't have in a 6-player game. So people in a 6-player game, people are jumping on Winu's back and pushing their face in the dirt. In 4-player, you can just go to Mechatol. You just waltz into Mechatol, and no one else is able to really. Everybody else is too busy wanting to fill out their very, very good slice. So you just walk in and get it, and then post up, and you're there.
Yeah.
So, very different thing for Winu. But anyways, the only reason I won is because it was a game of everyone racing for victory instead of competing for victory.
Right.
So Winu was running away with it, and so then the game started to turn into, well, we need to stop Winu, and I got to just sneak out a little victory on the side while people weren't. Basically, everyone thought there was going to be one more round, but I had a big round. I had a 5-point swing.
Nice.
In the 5th or 6th round, I forget.
Well, that's actually a neat transition to my least favorite thing about 4-player games. Which is that all of the strategy cards get drawn every single round because each player gets 2. I hate that. I really, really think that is not in the spirit of Twilight Imperium because everyone just feels so dang powerful. And everyone gets to do so much on the house without having to like really factor it in or like figure out how they're going to accomplish it. Like think about how different it is. Like there are so many moments that happen in a traditional Twilight Imperium game that make a round really interesting. Like let's say it's like late game, and you know that moment where you realize like, oh no, nobody took leadership.
Yes,
this is going to be hard.
Say that.
This is going to be hard. We have to figure out how are we going to do this. How are we going to?
Well, that's more my point where I agree with you on all 4 strategy cards being drawn. Is it's one thing for just like everyone to have a lot of stuff they can do. But it's even more annoying when every power is available. That actually breaks something. Like some things in the game are broken by the fact that every single strategy card gets picked. Yeah. Namely, Jolnar. To me, Jolnar is already powerful, and now Tech is 100% getting chosen every single round. I feel like I don't think about this as much in TI4. I just think it's because we don't play with Jolnar that much. Like Jolnar got so quickly called out as too good, but in TI3 it wasn't, or at least in our group it wasn't regarded that they were like this completely busted amazing faction.
Although they probably were, even more so because of the tech tree.
Right. But in TI3, that was the one thing I hated about 4-player games is it's like the whole point of Jolnar is Jolnar doesn't want to take tech. They would rather get something else and still get all the benefits of tech.
Right.
So the best play against Jolnar is, all right, nobody take tech then. Force them to take it if they want to do their thing. If they want to do their only ability, they have to take tech themselves.
Right.
And in a 4-player game, goodbye that entire line of thought. Like someone has to take tech. Jolnar always gets to do their ability.
Right.
Jolnar
and then,
always gets a free tech.
God, and that's so crazy because then if and like you like you said, you can't really force Jolnar to take it. So if they don't, then that means they're getting to execute the primary ability of 3 strategy cards in one round. That's so insane. That's so much power.
It's a lot. Same goes for Hakan with trade, right? Of course,
sure.
Hakan wants to have trade, but the fact that Hakan knows trade will, like, the difference here is if Hakan doesn't take trade, someone might not take trade, and then Hakan has a lot of hard time leveraging their ability. But if they know one player is getting trade no matter what, all right, there's that's who I single out this round. Like that, it just makes decisions less impactful. Like it's just like, okay, well, this thing's gonna happen now.
Right.
And I do agree with that downside. However, to speak on the why I think people like it is, I mean, you can do some fun, stupid, wacky plays. Like, it leads to... It's a whole new level of Magic Christmas Land. Except for, like, not that strange of Magic... Like, Magic Christmas Land stuff becomes reality in the 4-player game. And for people who like that, for people who just want to, like, theory craft these completely broken first rounds, right? We could never do first-round strategy guides for 4-player games. Because there's quadruple the number of variables because you have to consider 2 strategy cards and how they interplay off of each other. It's just like absolutely insane, but that's why it's kind of fun because you end up with these 2 strategy cards and you're like, okay, how am I gonna bounce these 2? What order to do them in, and how does that make for this round? 4-player feels more like a little Euro-y, where you're just in your little shell. Pulling off your cool stuff. You're building this engine and making this thing just work. And while I agree, the most fun part for TI for me in the 6-player game is like fighting each other and having contentious relationships. 4-player game is scratching that itch of just like, I'm doing this thing and I'm focusing on it and I'm pulling off really big plays.
Yeah.
For myself, for me. 4 players for me, not for a relationship with the table. It's just for me.
Right. Oh, well, that's good. That's a good transition into my next big gripe, which is that I feel like trading just is so strange, like in 4-player, because like we've kind of established already, everybody just kind of has a lot of great options, and they're just they've got everybody has a great slice. Everybody has a lot of power in the form of their double strategy card picks. So what exactly do they need from you? Like, why do they need to trade? Trading, and there's no like weird power relationship stuff to explore. Which is a big part of like how I think about the game and how I want to play the game. So I feel like trading in general, there's like almost no room for extortion except for the most like, I guess, intense, crazy extortions you could imagine. But there's just less room, I think, for the players to even need to trade with each other. I mean, they do. They still do because you get. But
it works out. Usually, it works out. Whoever wound up taking trade is not like a top pick, and whoever wound up taking trade refreshes one person. The 2 of them trade, and that's it. End of negotiations. No more. No, and there was no fun like no. But I'll offer you. It's just like nope. We're gonna do this deal. We're doing a 3-for-3, and that's it. Right. Because it's too juicy to cut half the board out of the negotiation. In a 6-player game, if only 2 of you are trading, it's like, oh, I could be milking. I could be kind of grabbing from everybody. Right. But in the 4-player game, it's like, let me just make my money off a trade and kind of be done with it. Because are you really going to make a deal with every single player at the table?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Why even spread the wealth around when everybody's got so much going on? That's so good, anyways.
Right.
Whereas in a 6-player game, it's like, you kind of want to deal with as many people as possible. so that you can spread the wealth around.
Right,
basically.
and you want to make more and give everybody a little.
Yeah,
then it's
exactly.
9, it's 15 trade goods for you if you're Hakan or whatever. The crazy stuff that we get into with that.
And then support for the throne. How's that even going to work?
Right. Oh man, support for the throne is pretty gross. I mean, it's already we already gripe on it. Mm-hmm. But I will say, I think support for the throne is my least favorite part.
That 4-player. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense really.
Because if 2 players swap. That's half of the table already. You're already
So the other half might as well swap, and then now you've got a Cold War game where
split in half.
and the players can't even attack each other.
Right.
And also, it's a short game anyways. It's really short. That's something we haven't talked about yet. It's really fast, which I guess is supposed to be a pro. Right. But I actually feel like TI4 6-player is the perfect amount of time that I want to play TI. Well, so how about that?
So let's get into that. That's my next pro, and you can talk about kind of the con side of it. But I played our game in 4.5 hours of setup to breakdown. Everything was 4. So the game itself, playtime was probably 4 hours long. Mm-hmm. Which, if you're just trying to squeeze in a game on the weekend with some casual buddies. It's great for that, right? We just had a fun little game, not like I'm playing Twilight Imperium today. I love that, and that's why I love Twilight Imperium, is it's this is my Saturday. But the argument is there for you could play a 4-player game on a Friday night. If everybody gets over at 7 o'clock, you can play a full 4-player game easily.
Sure.
If all the players are experienced and playing decently fast. It's not that bad. And so to that end, it's really just to say I see why people only can ever manage that and why they still like TI. It still feels a little bit like TI, but it's as much as they can fit into their schedule.
Right.
But with the amount of people they can get.
But at this point, I mean, me and you have really united the tribes, so to speak. And you should, and you know what? Let's do a quick advertisement for our Discord. Check out the Discord. Find people on the Discord that live in your area and play a 6-player game. Okay, don't be a baby.
Go to the subreddit and in the wiki, which if you just do
that's actually a better place.
/r/wiki. There's a spot in there where they have Facebook groups for every area that is ever posted on the subreddit. And if you have a group, post on the subreddit, find players. I don't know why this tangent got so big, but this could be the final point could be quit playing 4-player games and start playing 6-player games. By finding more people. But I still think there's a good argument for why the game's going so fast. But
right. Well, I think there's something in what you're saying that if it's a 4-player game, Twilight Imperium could be a night. Let's meet up tonight and play. I get that. And that actually really reminds me of the time that we all met up at midnight to play a 7-player game of TI3.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We started at midnight.
Someone listening to the podcast just crapped their pants at how stupid of an idea that is. A 7-player game starting at midnight.
Well, it's just
everybody having worked all day and we're already kind of groggy at midnight.
Yeah. And what's funny when you start a game like that, the thing I remember about it is that it's nobody wants to bring up the fact that it's a 7-player game starting at midnight. You know what I mean? Is that everybody's
the only 7-player game we ever played?
I think so.
Maybe that's why I hate 7-player games. It's just we did it the dumbest possible way
we
ever.
Only have that one. But I just remember it being everyone was no, don't break the faith. Okay, you have to. If we're gonna get through this, we have to believe. Do not doubt us. Okay. But you're right; they're fast, and that's good. But I've got a con here for you.
Okay.
They're wicked fast, but and actually, I think we mistyped this on the outline because my point is actually I feel like the early game takes up a very large proportion of that time. That it's mostly early game. It's mostly
most of the game is early game.
Right. And then it's like what we said. We kind of already made this point, which is that when the 2-pointers come out, all of a sudden it's late game for a round, bam, and it's done.
Right.
Who won?
Yeah. I see that too, and I see it as I I see it two ways. That stuff is fast because it's just people moving and expanding and moving and expanding and no conflict. And it's like, okay, and now I'm taking Lodor. Okay, great. Right. That sounds really fun. It looks like you're having a lot of fun over there on Lodor.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. And, I've got all my stuff.
And so it moves very fast. But you're right that it's just like the first 4 rounds are nothing but what a typical first round and a half or 2 rounds is.
Right. It's mostly posturing because why? It's okay. Sorry. I think it's mostly posturing, except for if you're just like trolling, I guess. But like you should be able to get all of your things that you need, and any conflict might be like, there might be some point denial that happens here and there that makes sense and it is justifiable. But I don't like. I think a lot of that is probably not going to happen,
right?
Because there's just no reason for it. It's like you're gonna you're gonna be like, oh, I got to get my stuff figured out, and you've got a lot of money, you've got a lot of, hopefully you're getting all of your points, but also like having a lot of money left over to build fleets. Like you're gonna be able to score things like spend 8 resources or spend whatever influence, and still because of your 2 strategies,
lots of stuff.
Yeah, right. like you're gonna be able to, because I find oftentimes that the choices that you have to make in a 6-player game come a lot of times between, and I feel like we don't talk about this enough on the show, but they'll come between: am I building a fleet or am I scoring the point?
That's like my Achilles heel. What you just said is like I always go for the point, and it means at the end of the game I have nothing. I never spent money on stuff.
But there's no tension in a 4-player game between that kind of thing.
Right.
It's just I'm going to have my fleet and I'm going to score my points.
Right.
And I also made cupcakes, and I get cupcakes.
Hunter, some people like cupcakes, and I don't know why we hate them so much. But to some people, that is a fun part of
a good point.
The experience.
Some people like cupcakes. It is, but I think that's actually a good. I think that is a good way to describe the 4-player game. It is the dessert. It's like it's a sugary. There's no bitterness to it. It's all sugar.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all sugar.
Yeah.
It's all sugar, baby. 4-player games. Well, I think this is sort of my last major. I've kind of got a couple more points, but But the idea. Let's say I played a 4-player game in 4 hours of playtime.
Right.
And a typical 6-player game is maybe like 6-ish hours. So for me, I guess what I'm saying is we had 3 hours of buildup and then an hour of like madness. An hour of like everyone's got so much stuff and we're figuring out how to play it off of each other and what's going to happen. And a 6-player game is like 2 hours of buildup and 2.5, 3 hours of like, what is happening? And then like something's falling apart for someone, and then just all this crazy stuff. And then an hour of who we have to kill them. We have to kick them out of the house and burn their car.
Right.
And it's just an hour of king making or whatever.
Right.
So I think that's like my argument for the 4-player game is at least you have that hour of just like it all happened and then someone won out of it. You don't have as many, I feel like, as many king making scenarios in a 4-player game. In a good 4-player game, everyone's in the running there at the end. There's not enough people there. No one got crushed early on. In a 6-player game, someone probably got crushed early on and they're just out of the running. In a 4-player game, everyone's kind of competing for it, which means that final round is like everyone racing for it and trying to make it work.
I think that is probably the best point you've made thus far. Of the king making is probably much less likely to happen. Like the idea of there being like a late game play that like just gives it to somebody and that's just kind of. But I think the flip side of that is that I think it's super likely that the way the victory is going to feel is like everybody was in the running, everybody's at 9 basically, metaphorically at 9. And we were able to stop so-and-so, and then we just didn't stop that last person, so they're the one that got it. Like, it just will feel like an arbitrary, like, well, we had the resources to stop the person that was going to score first, and we had the resources to stop the person that was going to score second. You were going to score third. We did not have enough time to stop you. So you are the victor.
Yeah.
Third person.
I can see that happening in a decent number of games. I guess my... judgment is clouded because I had such a cool last round where I won the game the round before everyone else thought it was going to be the contentious final round. And
right,
so,
but you're a troll.
To me, it felt like, because I'm a troll, yeah. No, it felt like, I can't decide if this is a good thing or a bad thing, actually, but it was really just that everyone was so focused on their own thing that it was very easy for me to start pulling off weird maneuvers. And maybe this is a problem of, like, two of the players were a little bit less experienced as well, because EJ was sitting there the whole time kind of being like, you guys should pay attention to Matt and, like, what he's doing, because he's being weird. And, like, Hunter, if you were in this game, you would have been, like, down my throat with like pointing the finger, just like, stop him. I don't know what he's doing, but stop him. Right. Because I was doing my typical Matt stuff of just like, oh, I'm not going to talk very much. And I'm just going to move this cruiser over here. And then obviously it's not arbitrary, but I'm going to try to play it off like it's an arbitrary little move.
I mean, I would say that it's not typical that you don't talk much, but that if you're not talking, that is your tell. If you are not talking, then everyone should be because you generally talk a lot. You generally involve yourself.
That's what I'm saying. When I stop talking, it's because I'm paying attention to pulling off a maneuver, and I don't want to influence. I want people to stop. Look, I want to stop talking because I want people to quit paying attention to me.
Yeah.
And to make you should pay attention to me more.
Right.
When I do that, but I'm hoping to lean off of people doing it less. I've got another one here, which is sort of in the same vein, which is the game is less disastrous. We sort of were already talking about this, but like this is the cupcake argument even more so, which is like a 6-player game is just so much bad stuff happening, especially if you're me and I play like
and Muat invades your home
survival,
system,
and Muat invades my home system. It's like every 6-player game is just me finding some way to stay alive, or I'm just doomed the whole time. But a 4-player game, at least I get to feel big for a while.
Yeah.
I felt like a big boy with lots of stuff for like 3 rounds, and then I started to spend it all and lose it all or whatever. Mm-hmm. But at least it's not. It's like that game. This is a weird deep cut, but we used to play a board game called City of Horror.
Oh,
I hated City of Horrors. I think it's the worst board game ever made because it is nothing but bad stuff happening to you nonstop. Yeah. There is no good decision in that game, and there's nothing good that ever happens. There's no triumph. You never succeed at anything. You just survive a little.
You just mitigate a bad situation.
Yeah,
that's the best you can do.
Yeah, the best you can ever do is mitigate a bad situation. And 6-player TI is a little bit like that. Not nearly to the I like TI and I hate City of Horror.
It has a push and pull of that. So like that will happen. Okay, so here's the thing though. I feel like it's so easy to describe the flow of a 4-player game. And a 6-player game, you're right, like a disaster, the likelihood that something bad is going to happen to you is likely, but also in a 6-player game, there's a comeback. Like there's a potential for you to turn it around.
That's true.
You and I can certainly both attest to times that we have had games where things did not go well for us, but we pulled it out anyways. And those are probably the best victories, really.
Right. Feel very, very good.
And that's not even really possible in a 4-player game. I don't know. I have a con here that I feel like I've kind of already made the point, but if 2 players fight, it has a lot of impact on the other 2 players. Oftentimes, in games of TI, even in 6-player games, there can be this thing that happens where the player that wins is just the player that there's like a checks and balances thing that happens in TI, which is that we all have to fight at some point in order to keep each other from winning. And sometimes the leftover player, the player that did not get challenged, is the winner. And that, I'm not trying to say that to take anything away from times that people have won that way, except for that every player should be considering that kind of checks and balances system.
Yeah.
In a 4-player game, that system though doesn't, I feel like, work as well because 2 players will fight, and then the other 2 players are kind of like, well, why should we fight? You know what I mean? Like, it would be so silly. Like if I see 2 players going to blows, I'd be like, all right, well, those 2 are out. Like those 2 are not winning.
It's over.
Yeah. So I just have to race this other player, and then we'll fight if I have to stop them or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good enough point of... So my argument is like there's less disasters, but your argument is if there is a disaster, it's even more so just like the game is toast. Like the whole that player's thing is in the dumpster now because you can't really come back from a devastating loss.
There's only four people. So if one of them has a bad game, then that is so decisive for the other three. Sure. And actually, this criticism I think I could also extend to, while I like these games a lot more, 3-player kind of has this problem too.
Sure.
I remember
3-player is even more. Yeah, 3-player. The biggest downside for the 3-player, and we'll eventually do a 3-player episode, but it is definitely that like if one person starts to lose it, how are they ever going to catch up? Ever.
I have a memory of winning a decisive 3-player game with you and Sean, where essentially what happened was you and Sean fought too much, and then I just kind of had this like path to winning.
Right.
And it wasn't bloodless. Like I did have to fight for it, but because you and Sean had fought so much, it just
have enough left.
Yeah, and it just felt like I had a really streamlined victory.
Right.
Because of that. And I feel like that aspect carries over to 4-player with just a little more complexity. But yeah it's still an issue.
Well, my final point, and I think it wraps up this whole conversation, is I think I've been trying to be on 4-player games side.
It's hard, though, isn't it?
But it is a little bit hard. But I do think the number one argument, if the main theme of a 4-player game is kind of like casual, lame build-up for a bunch of rounds and then like a sudden win because 10 victory points just happened, the number one solution to that is let's play a 14-point 4-player game.
Sure.
Because then I think it's a completely different ball game, because then there's those few rounds of build-up that everybody has, but then the 2-point objectives are a bigger deal and it lasts significantly longer. You need way more 2-point objectives to survive that, so the clashing I think will come much more to a head. And this is theory crafting, because we haven't played a 4-player 14-point game, but I think it would be incredibly interesting and would have a huge climax.
I'm going to challenge that. I don't think all of the 2-player or all of the 2-pointers are that difficult in a 4-player game. I think some of them are. I think some of them are not.
Well, the tech ones are even easier. Getting all the tech is going to be very easy.
The tech ones, the resource influence ones, everything except for the control.
It's really just the control ones just become
competitive.
Normal difficult.
It's like stage 2 is like how stage 1 is in a 6-player, where a lot of the resource stuff is manageable and the control objectives are difficult.
Yeah.
But I don't think 14 points is going to make it. I mean, this is completely theory crafting because neither of us have played this, but I do not think 14 points is going to make the difference. I just don't think that Twilight Imperium is built for every strategy card to be picked every single round. I think that is a fundamental problem that you cannot get past. So much of the game has to do with not having access to everything all the time.
Right. Well, I feel like this is a good first look. I want to return to the discussion of 4-player games. I don't know if Hunter does. I don't know if Hunter... I don't know if in future 4-player game episodes Hunter will have played 4-player games or if he'll just be joining in on the conversation. You really avoid them.
I really don't want to play them, and I think if you really wanted us to do a very fair 4-player, honestly, I think I would toss that to like EJ or something.
Right.
Like I would be willing to literally sit out.
Hunter is the one who is famous for routinely, if a game got down to 4-play, like 2 people canceled, we had 6 for Saturday and 2 canceled, Hunter's the first one to be like, then let's not play at all, please.
Right.
I do not want to play. And so it's very hard to get those going.
It doesn't scratch the itch for me. Right. It just doesn't.
It just makes it a board game you don't like.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about stuff we do like, but we need to get over to the errata to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Will you play the typical errata outro song so that we can then come back into it?
Can we clear that?
If you do it one more time, I can't clear it. So just stop right there.
From the day I was born.
No!
The nurses all gather round. And they were like, did you make any mistakes in your podcast last week? And I was like, yes, I did.
This is
and she could tell right away.
Stop it.
Bad.
We were bad. We've got some errata. This first one is from Pink, and this is about the game we played, but it's specifically in reference to the map. All this errata is going to be about the map that we're going to play in the prelim rounds of the tournament. And because we played with some good Yin Brotherhood games on it, Pink had this to say about the map.
Yeah.
And this is my defense. Basically, there were a few people that were like, why are there no planets equidistant? Which we talked about that in the episode. Give me a break. But there's an argument to how this map becomes like a fighty map rather than... I mean, what we just spent this whole episode talking about is a 4-player game where people sit passively and do nothing. And the argument is this map that we just put out lets people sit passively and do nothing and win.
Well, except for if they don't, like that,
right.
That's not what happened in our game. Yeah,
Pink says, you guys fought each other and never touched me. With a map like this, you cannot let someone just sit around and twiddle their thumbs.
Agreed.
And this is what I want people to think about when they're playing on this map. Yes, you can win by just sitting there, which is why all of the other players should recognize when someone... what we're hoping people do and what we're hoping to see in tournament level play is people exceed the meta to go, I cannot let someone just sit and score points. I have to do something about it, or else on this map especially, they'll just run away with it.
Right.
So that is our argument. And also the other funny argument is someone posted a thing saying basically like, I don't see any reason to fight. Also, man, all those planets around Mechatol Rex, I can't wait to see how many times Mechatol Rex changes hands. Which... That's a lot. That's what a lot of fighting is
right.
Doing that.
It's things changing hands.
It's a fun that. Anyways, that's sort of the idea of the map is draw everyone a little bit to the center, give them enough back at home to do what they need to do, but then recognize when someone else is starting to get ahead and immediately jump on that issue as a board.
Yeah. Also, the goal of this map was essentially this is the map that the most people are going to play on because it's a prelims map. How do we make it as fair as possible? And taking out the equidistant systems made that possible basically.
Yeah. I worded it in the Discord the other day too. This is a little bit of a separate point, but I can't, because there's 108 players in this first game. The first map is more for the players to have like a comfortable TI game.
Right.
The later maps are for the viewers. The later maps are going to get way weirder and way more difficult, and that's where players have to make hard decisions and are playing on things. Nothing is going to be as balanced as this first map. You cannot make as balanced of a map with equidistant stuff or like mixing things up. Like if you start to lose symmetry, you lose balance. That's just the way it's going to happen.
Right.
And so in later maps, we're going to give up some symmetry, which means the players themselves have to fix that. Like the player who knows they're in the worst slice needs to play with that in mind.
Yeah, and I think it's also just part of this is the prelim, so like people of all experience levels are going to be playing, and we want them to get to play in a good slice, like in the tournament. Like that's just something, like we want everybody to get a fair shot at that. If you make it through and you're in the semifinals, then like I don't care if you get a good slice. You got to win. You just have to make it happen. They're not going to be broken after the prelims, but like we just wanted everybody to have a shot at just like you're going to get a good slice, you're going to get a fair shake of this. And in the maps going forward, there might be times where it's like, listen, this slice has some issues, and you have to, as a player, you have to know that and overcome that, and that's part of it all.
And that's what the draft is for too, right? Like if you're getting stuck with the crappy slice, the idea is you should have gotten your first pick. And I know some people have said picking faction first isn't necessarily that good because you can get counterpicked, but like that's where all of the drafting comes into it. Like you should be planning your draft from the moment you get your first initial hand.
Yeah.
It's not just about throwing out Jolnar or throwing out Winu. It's like I want to start being prepared to go for this faction, so I need to make sure the counter is out or whatever. Like, there are many, many factors in this draft, and it's all negotiable. Talk with the other players. Like, try to get stuff removed so that you can do what you want to do in the slice that you're given.
Yeah.
And you should be given a better faction if you got a worse slice, typically. Like, I'm accepting that even on the map we presented, some of the slices are a little bit better than others. But that means Fires of the Gashly, or Slice of the Gashly, is going to get picked first most games. But that player then is getting last faction pick. So they, deal with that. Make it work.
Right.
I'm sounding way more angry suddenly.
Yeah,
I realize.
yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited by these types of decisions.
Right.
Like, I'm getting like worked up about it because I want to see it happen and I want to talk about it with Hunter like during the casting of the game to like figure out why people are making these decisions. So I'm really excited for it.
Well, okay, so our next one is from Root. And he says, yo, speaking of extra resources, I don't know what that is in reference to, but if people still aren't feeling comfortable with TTS, you can tell people on a podcast to hunt me down on Discord, and I'll get online with them and help them out. Wow.
That's a little PSA from Root. So Root helped us make the video for teaching TTS on TI4 on TTS, and he's offering up. He's an available dude. He's ready to help. So just wanted to throw it out there. If you are not comfortable with TTS yet and you need practice just on using the system, hit Root up on our Discord or he's on the other TI4 Discord as well.
Right.
So find Root, ROOT, Root.
Yeah. He's a great caster as well. I just wanted to mention that he casts good.
He's been casting games on his Twitch, and we host his every time he streams. If we're not streaming, we're hosting him streaming. So it's been fun to see him do stuff. We might involve him on the tournament some. We're almost definitely involving him on the tournament some.
For sure.
So
for sure.
There's that. Jim says, why not replace Saudor? This is in the Dangerous Diplo slice, if you're looking at the map. Why not replace Saudor with Dalbutha Exxon? For one, it gives Dangerous Diplo 5 planets like every other slice, and it trades 1 resource for 1 influence while improving the ratio of usable to wasted value. There's been a lot of conversation on the Discord this week about usable versus wasted value. So the idea is a 2/2 planet. When you spend 2 of one thing, you're burning the other 2.
Right.
And we talked about this. Like, Little and Tight is so good because you almost never waste influence when you're spending resources, and you almost never waste resources, back and forth.
Right.
And so, like, a 2/2 planet basically sucks for that idea. That's now become, like, the biggest, most, like, intense conversation ever. Everyone's talking about this balance now, which I don't remember anyone ever talking about it before.
Right.
But now it's, like, the hot button issue. But this is a great point, and this is our first change. We're changing the map. We will change the map, and I'm going to repost it, but we're going to swap out Saudor with Dalbutha Exxon. Here's the story. The story is last minute, before we started recording the podcast, we took another look at the map, made sure there's anything we wanted to change, and we actually had Dalbutha Exxon and Mehar Zul in the slice that is now called Darian's slice.
Right.
Those planets were both there. Wellen was out and Melon Zobat was out. And we rebalanced it and fixed the bottom slice in a way that we liked more. But when we fixed that, we went, okay, seems good. And we didn't really like take a second look at if those 2 that we just took out could get re-implemented somewhere else.
Right.
And so, it was an oversight. And that's why we're willing to make this change. So we'll repost the map, but Dalbutha Exxon will add 2 culturals to Dangerous Diplo. It'll swap the resource influence from a 8-7 slice to a 7-8 slice, so not a huge world of difference there.
Right.
And it makes Dangerous Diplo a little bit more contestable. There were some issues with Dangerous Diplo. People have been playing games all week. I mean, I think there's something like 11 games that have played on our map already, and it's been 1 week.
Right.
And Dangerous Diplo was routinely kind of underperforming, and we're about to talk about another slice that was underperforming, and we're making changes to both of those slices.
Right.
So, again, we'll post links all over the place. We'll get the new map out there. I might even just delete the old map so that it's gone from the history books, and we'll move forward from there.
Yeah, I think this change is like undeniably great. Like it's just like an oversight.
I can't argue against it. It is an oversight, and I have no argument here. So
we got one more. This one's from the 9 of Spades. Why the exclusion of Mahar Zul for a planet like Saudor or Vefet 2? Why?
This is in that same idea too, right? People just hate. It turns out people hate Vefet 2 and Saudor because they're 2/2s.
Yeah.
People can deal with a 1/1 because almost every 1/1 comes with a tech skip.
Yeah.
And a 1/1 is just, it's one trade good. But a planet that is forcibly 2 trade goods feels like you're getting robbed.
Right. Well,
turns out.
it's the wasted value thing, which I mean, I think that conversation kind of got a little too loud.
Right.
It's not the most important thing because you have to also factor in like your
traits
what,
and just everything,
but also like your what faction you're playing. You know,
Right.
like. But anyways, the point is, I would say this one is a less obvious fix than the first one. I like.
Yeah,
Jim's
we
point a
debated
lot.
this one a little longer.
Yeah, we debated this one a little longer. But I think in the end we're in favor of it. Why?
Yeah. Because Fast and Cultured was underperforming a lot, significantly more than any other slice.
Right.
In the and Hunter played on Fast and Cultured in our game, and even he felt like, it did feel pretty underwhelming,
Right.
As a slice, and it feels like it gets fixed if you add Mahar Zul to it, because that gives you 2 planets in that slice. We're talking about the Fast and Cultured slice again. That adds 2 planets that you can reliably get command counters off of without burning too many resources. And before, that just wasn't the case. Now, the reason we gave pause is it turns Fast and Cultured into a 6-9 slice, as opposed to like everything else is like a 7-8, 8-7, 8-6. You know, they're fairly balanced within themselves. They're symmetrical, but this makes this a pretty volatile slice in favor of influence, without giving you very many resources. So I don't love it, and honestly, if people come up with some brilliant change that also fixes that, I may be open to changing Fast and Cultured again.
Right.
So far, haven't found it. Can't see. There's anything else starts to swap tiles between slices too much to where it's like, this gets messy, and it's completely redoing the entire map. Both of these changes are nice because it's individual planet swaps. It's just one slice or one system tile for one system tile, and it barely affects the numbers enough to matter.
And to be clear, we're talking about swapping out Vefet 2 and placing Mahar Zul there. So now everyone's hated systems, Saudor and Vefet 2, are out. Those are the ones that are not in at all.
This does a few more things that are very, very interesting, though. With both of these changes, what you end up with is perfectly even number of planet traits between the 3 types.
Yeah.
I believe it's 10 per. I forgot to write any of this down, but all of the planet traits should be the exact same number available on the entire map. There are 4 tech skips adjacent to Mechatol Rex, and it's 1 in every single color. A green, a blue, a yellow, and a red are all adjacent to Mechatol Rex. Mm-hmm. Every single tech skip planet is out there, so for that objective, all 8 are at least available. Whether or not it's easy to get, that's always
it's pretty
a whole
hard,
different issue.
Yeah.
But we're taking it from 7 to 8, so at least there's more there. Just in general, all of these changes make the map feel a little bit more perfect.
Yeah, like it has a little more symmetry to it. The tech skips still are not they're not completely evenly distributed.
No.
But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
What are you going to do? And what I like, too, is this gave Fast and Cultured a second. So Fast and Cultured is in this little chaotic spot of having 6 resources, 9 influence, but they also have blue-red tech.
Yeah.
So an interesting spot. And they're lacking in resources, but guess who loves blue-red tech? Barony Aletnev. And they're not going to be concerned there at all. Sounds like we have a great Barony slice to me.
Yeah.
So those are that's the changes. Those are the 2 official changes for the map. Again, we'll post those. Keep talking about it though. Keep playing on it. We said this last time. We're not looking to make changes, but if people keep finding stuff that's like, this is a quick, easy change that clearly makes it better, we're not going to say no. So just, be reasonable. I'm not going to completely change the map to give 1 more resource to a slice. But I will change it to balance out the traits and the tech skips and all of that, which we are now at a very, very balanced point. I really don't know how we could fix it anymore without drastically changing it.
All I want to know is if we just made Fast and Cultured the best slice. I'm wondering.
I don't
That's all.
think so.
I don't think so
think
either,
so,
but I just want to know. I just want to know.
I think I might be wrong about the planet traits thing. I think the planet traits being perfectly even was swapping out Saudor for... no, it should make it the same. I don't know.
It is the same because we're swapping out Vefit for a red for a red. So that's the
that
same.
Should be right. I don't know. I'm second guessing myself. Anyways, guess what you can do? You can go to Twitter and find us at Space Cats Pod for updates and game announcements. You can go to Facebook and search for Space Cats Peace Turtles. You can ask me questions there as well, and we post all kinds of stuff there. The Twilight Imperium subreddit is where we post every single week and have weekly discussions about each episode, as well as lots of other discussions happening there. The Reddit is constantly moving and grooving, and it's a fun place to hang out. Our Board Game Geek Guild, this is a little errata from Brian the Bodacious. He said, Matt, you finally got something to put on the Board Game Geek calendar. The tournament schedule. And he's exactly right. I haven't put it up there yet, but he's a genius. Once the tournament starts getting into full swing, we're going to make very much a lot of use out of the Board Game Geek calendar, and we'll be posting that so that players can keep track of their own schedules and everyone else can see when games are happening. Our goal is to play games, record them, and hopefully take the recording and then immediately post it to YouTube. So I would love to have, within an hour of a game being played, a video is available for people to watch and see the game.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. Again, there's lots of factors that could get in the way of that, but that's the goal. You can email us, spacecatspieceturtles@gmail.com, to submit plays of the week and This Imperium Life stories. We're trying to collect stories for salty This Imperium Life. So send us your mean-spirited and salty stories and coming back from bad mood. You can also join our Patreon. Our Patreon, our Patreon.
Our Patreon,
and that helps make the show better, and it helps us do more conferences and put on this tournament and take time away to do this tournament. And
one point that I wanted to specifically mention, special shout out to Steve Martin Fan Club and every tier above that. That's the ability to submit stuff for streams.
Yeah.
We have... I feel like I'm maybe... I just want to go ahead and commit us to this. We are likely going to do 2 streams in December. Because we will be in the same place again.
Yes.
I will be in Arkansas for
a
long time, for about 3 weeks. So we will get a lot of work done via that time. And we are expecting to do a goofy whack-a-mole stream, a crazy stream.
For the holiday, so the 2018 Holiday Spectacular, as of right now, and I can't see this changing, I want to put it on the books. December 23rd is almost definitely when that game is going to be.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, it might be 2 games back to back on stream, one more normal and one the dumbest game we've ever played in our lives.
Right.
It will be completely insane and so fun, and we want everyone to join in and hang out because there will be lots and lots and lots of engagement during that game. So if you've never joined us for a stream, we do all kinds of stupid stuff like audience agendas, which are written by the Steve Martin Fan Club that Hunter was referencing. They help us build the streams. They make content for us. They help us decide what we're going to do in the streams and to make them really, really stupid.
Right. So we're going to at least do that, but I also want to do a more serious stream as well. So hopefully you'll get 2 games out of us. I think you will definitely get the Holiday Spectacular, and I think likely you will get another one as well. So I just wanted to call that out.
Yeah. You can also join our Discord to get some of your Patreon benefits and join in on those conversations about stream games or Galactic Council episodes, and also just all kinds of conversations. It's been a week full of discussing this map and breaking it down and people giving analytics on the map and the numbers, and it's been completely madness, but it's super enlightening and really cool to see.
Yeah.
You can rate us on your favorite podcast app, preferably iTunes and Apple Podcasts is a huge network of people, and it raises visibility for us and it raises visibility for Twilight Imperium.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Hunter, and I want to throw some comedy stuff at you. Every Thursday, you can see me co-host Earthquake Hurricane, which is a comedy show in Portland. It happens at a coffee shop called Ford Food and Drink. That starts at 8 p.m. I will not be there every Thursday this month because I will be in Arkansas from December 17th to January 7th. I don't know why I told you that. That's kind of a weird amount of information to give you. But yeah, so I'll be
address is
I'll be missing some of those Thursdays. But a great show I got to tell you about on December 8th. me and my buddy Jake Silberman, who was recently voted Portland's funniest person by the Willamette Week poll. So his face was on the cover of that magazine, which was awesome. We co-host a show called Comedy Bender, which is like a brunch comedy show. That happens at noon at The Lamp, which is a bar connected to the Aladdin Theater, and that's on December 8th. I'm going to be a guest co-host on another podcast. Haha, Matt.
Shut up.
And that podcast
jealous.
is called What's More Metal, which is not necessarily my brand, but it's a podcast where these two very funny comedians named Dan Weber and Noriko Ott debate how metal something is. And I don't mean like in a physical sense, in like a music sense. So I will be guest co-hosting that, which is recorded live on December 12th at 10 p.m. at the Funhouse Lounge in Portland. On December 15th, me and Jake Silberman, who I also co-host Comedy Bender with, will be doing a show that is connected to the shows that we do in the summer that are like backyard shows that are super fun, but we're going to be doing a Christmas one, and we're calling it Christmas Party Hanukkah Show Comedy. And that will be happening on December 15th. At my friend Adam's house. I'm not going to throw his address out there because it is a ticketed event this time. Because space is limited, we had to do tickets for it. So if you're having trouble finding those tickets, you can search Christmas Party Hanukkah Show Comedy on Facebook, and you will find the event, which also has the tickets linked into it. The tickets are $10. The show will start at 8, and we are writing a lot of very specific, insane, like Christmas, Hanukkah themed material for the show. It is going to be completely bonkers, and I'm really excited about it. That show will be awesome. And we're about half sold out at this point. So if you're interested, I wouldn't wait, because this will likely sell out, before, probably about, I feel like a week before it's going to sell out. So one last, or actually two last ones. December 16th, I'll be at the Alliance, which is a late night comedy show at the Alberta Street Pub. That starts at 9 p.m. And then December 22nd in Arkansas, for all two of our Arkansas listeners, that are probably people we already know anyways. That I was
it's just me checking the podcast.
So, Matt, let me recommend a show for you. On December 22nd, I will be headlining a comedy show at Black Apple Crossing in Springdale, Arkansas. Wow. So what about that?
Come on out from Tulsa, or come down from Kansas City. Why not?
Yeah, come on down. It'll be fun. I'm probably going to get some more Arkansas shows while I'm there, but that's just the one that I've got right now. And also, if you want to listen to me and Matt do funny stuff, we were on an episode of Spec Script.
Yeah. So you should listen to that. We kind of teased it last week. It's finally out. It's spelled SPEC Script, SCRIPT. Just search that it's on like Stitcher and iTunes and SoundCloud. And we posted it all over our Facebook and Twitter, but go check it out. It's a dumb, stupid old time that Hunter wrote.
It's really, I think it's going to be funnier for listeners of Space Cats, actually.
Yeah, than it was for people at the show.
Oh, no. I think they loved it.
Sure. But
because you all have probably, those of you that have been listening to the show, if you remember the Mentak episode, Matt demonstrated his very, very good, and by that I mean bad, Australian accent. And because of that, I was so surprised with that. I'd never heard him do that voice before. I wrote a script where his character was just that. So he just had to stick to that voice and super commit to it. And it was really funny. It was the way Spec Script works is one comedian writes a script to a TV show they've never seen, and the TV show that we got was The Lone Ranger. It was super fun.
It was fun, except for the part where I had to embarrass myself a lot.
Yeah, but you were great, though. You were great.
I was 2 beers in, and I listened to it today. It's just me screaming the whole time. Yeah. I'm screaming into my microphone. I'm sure if someone was on a soundboard, they turned me down to like -35. Hey, I want to thank some Patreoners, some patrons, some patroners. That's the Space Kitties of Jimbo V, Jada Pake, Dustin Doom, and Nathan Swenson. And I also want to thank some other patrons. Bobson Dugnut, A.M. Reichel, and Chris O'Sullivan.
All right. Let's do that play of the week, baby.
This is a fun one. Hunter and I are going to both act together. So if spec script wasn't enough, here's Hunter and I acting together, as we haven't done since high school. Go ahead. You start. You're yellow.
I'm yellow? I thought.
Oh no, you're
I
right.
thought I was green.
I'm very good acting already. Doing such a good job. Okay.
You got to know your lines, dude.
This is presented by Adam Sandberg. Captain, we have undocked and are moving towards unoccupied space outside the barracks sector.
Very good, brother. Hold position once we are clear of our home fleet.
The newly constructed Van Hog was manned by many of the most blessed. After past conflict with the Yssarl tribes, their current position was one of strategic importance. Captain, a message from the tribesmen indicates their homeworld is under siege. They're requesting our aid.
That's impossible. Their perimeter was fortified and their fleet's impressive. What happened?
The transmission indicated a large stealth ship appeared from nowhere, followed by other capital ships through what appeared to be a wormhole?
No, the captain replied. There is an enforced travel ban, and the wormholes have all been closed. This must be a trick to draw us in and leave our home open to an attack.
There's a video feed attached to the transmission. Shall I play it?
Yes, on screen.
The main display flickered, then showed standard galactic surveillance video in the tribe's home system. A Ghost flagship had navigated through the tribe perimeter with light wave deflection technology, opened up a wormhole, and was joined by 3 dreadnoughts and 2 cruisers. The assault had begun. It was not long before the scattered tribal forces broke rank and retreated. Defense cannons failed, but the ferocious and experienced tribal fighters repelled the Ghosts on the ground. The display went dark. Interrupting the silence, the captain barked,
Hold position!
Turned and walked to his quarters to inquire of the Elder Blessed. Minutes turned into hours as the bridge crew waited. The captain, with fire in his eyes, returned and said,
Plot a course to the tribe sector. Maybe we can get there in time.
During the journey of the Van Hog, the annual summit occurred. Words and veiled threats were exchanged, and the tribes and Yin's shaky friendship was transformed into an alliance when the tribes voted for the Elder Blessed to be the Minister of Peace. Finally, the Van Hog arrived, and it was time to act. Seeing the Van Hog moving in, the Ghosts attempt to flee and strike at the Brotherhood's home. The Elder Blessed, Minister of Peace, halts them in their tracks. Van Hog, with an unexpected action and superior fleet logistics, entered the home system of the tribes, engaging in glorious combat with the stunned Ghost. Shots are fired. The bridge is in a frenzy. Captain, the Ghosts are retreating. They're opening a wormhole. Sir, if we lose them now, our home will be vulnerable. Captain, we've been hit. Engine rooms 2 and 3 are damaged. Sealing and ejecting drive cores now. The captain knows his orders. He'd known what his end would be when he signed up for the Van Hog. Will the tribes remember his sacrifice? Will the Brotherhood remember this day? Will this sacrifice garner anyone's support for the galactic throne?
Negative. Do not eject those cores. The Brotherhood requires the support of the tribes. It has been a privilege, brothers, and may Darien smile upon us. Activate Sunset Protocol. Destroy their fleet.
A bright flash. Then, silence.
I didn't mean to voice the Yin guy like a Dalek.
Like an idiot.
Execute. I just made a choice, and you have to commit. You know, that's just how it is with acting. And I hadn't read it before, but I realized I was like, I'm making him sound like a Dalek, which is not really. That's not how I imagine the Yin sound.
That's okay. It's still
to me the Yin sound like Jada Pake.
What does he sound like? We know what he sounds like.
We know what he sounds like.
He sounds like this right now. You're hearing his voice at this very, very moment of what I'm saying. It's his voice.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that bit.
You forgot about that bit. Nobody else did.
JP equals M plus H. That's the real. It's
both of us back and forth. Right now, Jotapeg just sounded like this, but suddenly he's about to sound like this is me.
This right here.
This.
Yeah, this right here. Yeah, so what it is that we're not actually two people. We're one person. And it's just one guy, and his name is Jotapeg, and he's got two microphones, and he turns to be one, and then he turns to the other, and that's what's actually happening.
And sometimes he gets attacked by bees.
I know some of you have watched the streams and you've seen us, but that is an actor playing Hunter, and the real one, the real Jota, is the one that it says that he's Matt.
Right. Anyways, can we go? We have to go because things are getting weird. And we're revealing too many of our dirtiest secrets.
Yeah, the Dirty Secrets episode.
That's it. Thank you for listening to Space Cat's Peace Turtles, and thanks to Ben Prunty for the use of his music. You can find more at benpruntymusic.com and benprunty.bandcamp.com. Pax Magnifica, Bellum Gloriosum.